Hey guys, another video for our martial arts in Japan playlist. On the martial arts in Japan playlist there are some videos about Aikido, and that results in the occasional question about Aikido, and more recently a message from a patron on Patreon asking some questions about Aikido. As with most things like this, there is multiple layers and multiple depths to it, and different people get different things out of it. So trying to explain it in a few written words, sort of impossible. And even in videos, it would probably take a few videos to get just the basic idea of it across, really, because there's so much depth to it, you know. As with most things like this, so very difficult to put it into a few words. But we'll have a go. It might take a couple of videos. Maybe this video and then another one in the dojo or something, just to get a bit of an idea of it. So first of all, first things first, anytime Aikido gets mentioned anywhere, it's a martial art, and so often one of the first comments you get from some people is it doesn't work, it's no good in a real fight, and comments like that. And so we'll address that first, because that will take care of that negativity, and we can move on then to what the other parts of it. So yeah, look, it's true. If you want to fight in MMA, if you want to fight in mixed martial arts, or you know, you want to go fight in the UFC, or if you want to go and have street fights or something, then it's pretty well accepted these days that a combination of some sort of striking art, you know, boxing or karate or something else, combined with a grappling art like wrestling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something like that, is probably the best thing to do, because a combination of those two things seems to be what's the most effective at the moment in the martial arts world, in the mixed martial arts world. So something like that would probably be the go. So from that point of view, yeah, it's true. You're not going to walk into a mixed martial arts fight and use Aikido and walk away victorious, most likely. So yeah, that's true. It's true. It's not really designed to be like that. Although it's a martial art, it's the practice of this art that is within the boundaries of what it is. It's the same as something like Taekwondo, where there's rules, you know, where you can hit and where you can't hit, and when you can hit and when you can't hit, and all that sort of thing. So it's a little bit like that. There's all these guidelines for it, and it's not competitive. In Aikido, it's not about winning. It's not about defeating the other person. So there's that. Not to say that what's actually happening isn't physically accurate or true. It's just that it's within the confines of what it is. So that, you know, the attack is, in this case, the attack is supposed to be this attack, and so that's usually what the attacker will do, and then the defense is usually this, and that's usually what the person that's doing the technique will do, up to a certain extent. There is also another type of practice in Aikido that's totally random, where the attacker can do anything that they want, and the person who's doing the techniques can do whatever the appropriate technique is at the time to react to it. So there's all that. So in short, yes, okay, as far as it being a thing that you'd use in a street fight, or a thing that you'd use in a mixed martial arts competition, then no, probably pure Aikido is not the thing for you. Having said that, though, interestingly, there's lots of police departments in Japan where the police officers practice Aikido, because as far as law enforcement is concerned, law enforcement or security is concerned, it can be quite useful because of the way it's designed. There's no real striking as such, usually in the techniques, with the exception of atemi and things like that are really designed to be a distraction. There's not a lot of striking goes on. So for security and police officers and so on, the locks, some of the locks and some of the techniques can be useful in a law enforcement environment as well. Keeping in mind that most Japanese police officers also carry guns and batons, so you know, it's just another tool really that they have in their collection. But also, as we'll get to at some stage when we're talking about this, is that it builds, Aikido builds a certain amount of character and a certain amount of competency, physical competency in relating to other people physically. That's a bit vague, but there is a certain amount of that as well that would be useful for police officers and security officers as well. So we'll get to that later. So that's really it. The best response if someone says Aikido isn't a useful martial art, you can't use it for fighting and it's no good for fighting and everything, the best response to that would be, yeah, okay, and just leave it at that. That's usually the response you'll get from most Aikido people is, yep, okay, that's it. As far as what it does do for you, we could talk for hours about what it can do for you. It's first of all, just straight out physically, it's a exceptionally good cardiovascular workout. If you spend an hour or two a day, 2 or 3 days a week doing Aikido, it will be extremely good for your cardiovascular system. It is a really good workout because you're working fairly consistently for the hour or two, and a lot of control is involved with breathing and so on as well, and it is a good workout, there's no doubt about it. The other thing is you're warming up and stretching first before you do it, and then when you're actually doing it, a lot of the techniques when they're being applied to you are stretching your joints and things past where you would normally stretch them to. So one of the things that you learn in Aikido is to relax when somebody's applying a technique to you, is to relax and let it be applied, and the result of that is that you get stretched in all sorts of directions much further than you could stretch yourself. And that might get done to you, 100 times or 200 times, and then you change and do another technique and you'll be stretched in another direction 100 times or 200 times. And so obviously that's really good for your flexibility. So you generally end up pretty flexible. The other thing is the break falls that you do in Aikido. You do a lot of break falls, and apparently the break falls, that jarring break fall experience strengthens bones, apparently. So these things combined mean that it's really common to go into an Aikido dojo and have kids in there and teenagers in there and people in their 20s and 30s and 50s and 60s and 70s. We posted a video a while ago of one of our Shihan, one of our masters, who was in his 80s, throwing people around, and it's because the practice itself is good for your body and helps you maintain flexibility and health into your old age. So some martial arts don't do that, like if you see old judo people or old karate people, quite often they're all gnarly and messed up, and you don't often go into a dojo and see 70-year-olds throwing each other around with judo or doing a lot of striking with karate. They do exist, but not so much. Whereas with Aikido, it is really common in Japan to go into a dojo and come across people who've been doing Aikido for 50 or 60 years, and now they're 70 years old or they're 80 years old and they're still being thrown around and they're still throwing people around. So as far as that's concerned, your general health and flexibility and so on, it's really, really good. And amazingly healing. It's incredible. It's really incredible. Some days, you'll have some aches or pains, or you'll have a headache or a cold, you keep coughing and you've got a cold and you're not feeling real good. And it's amazing, if you drag yourself into the dojo and do Aikido for a couple of hours, inevitably you walk out feeling better. It's amazingly healing, Just on a personal note, I've got a million examples of that, where I've had a headache and a really big day and I've got a headache and I don't feel like going to Aikido, and I make myself go for a couple of hours and come out and the headache's gone. There was another one about 15 years ago, well, about 20 years ago. I had a car accident and it damaged my neck. And about 15 years ago, I went to the doctor and ended up having an MRI. And he showed, you could see that between two of the vertebrae in my neck was just a mess. It really didn't look good, you know. It was all crunchy and it didn't look good at all. And he said at the time, look, there's not much that we can do about that except fuse the two vertebrae together. So he said, you need to stop doing martial arts straight away. You shouldn't do martial arts anymore because that's, you know, it's dangerous. If you land on your head, you could get paralyzed because of this weakness you've got in your neck, and you should stop doing martial arts straight away. And sometime in the next couple of years, we've got to fuse these two vertebrae together, right? And that was 15 years ago, and I didn't stop doing Aikido because I was aware of the fact that it was really healing. Now, this isn't to say that for everybody with every condition that this is going to be a good idea. Obviously, for some people, it could be a really bad idea. But at that time, I was having a lot of neck pain and a lot of nerve pain, and it was really quite horrible what this neck was doing. And that was about 15 years ago, and I continued to do Aikido, and now it doesn't give me any problems at all. So it's just the combination of the warming and the stretching and probably the leukemia as well, the break falls as well, a lot of rolling, you know, and to do that sort of stuff you have to be really warm and really relaxed, and it just seems to be healing. It just seems to make things better, you know. You'll have a sore back or a sore something and go to Aikido for a couple of hours and you walk out feeling better. And lots of people who do Aikido say this, that, you know, and you know, all sorts of stuff. So muscle pains or joint pains or things like that is one example. And then other weird things like headaches. You know, go to Aikido with a headache and 2 hours later the headache's gone. Cold. I actually had a head cold last week and nose and just felt horrible. Went to Aikido for a couple of hours and walked out feeling better. It's just really, it seems to be really, really healing. So for your general health, it's absolutely excellent. And then as far as your mental health and your just general, you know, tension and stress and that sort of thing, it's just brilliant for that. It's brilliant for that. You know, you'll have days where, and it's hard to explain why. We'll have a go at explaining why later, but it's partly the physical activity, but it's the mental attitude, and it's the practice itself is really good at relieving stress and just lowering all that sort of tension or negativity or stress or whatever it is in your body. And some days, you know, you'll be feeling overwhelmed, and you go to Aikido for a couple of hours and just walk out feeling really relaxed and peaceful and calm and relaxed and happy. And, you know, it's just really, really good for physically, mentally, emotionally, the whole thing. It's just an excellent thing for your general well-being. And then just touch on that just briefly. Something else, that there's a million things that come to mind of what it's good for. Mostly it's just good for lessons for your day-to-day life and things that about day-to-day life that are good general practice in your day-to-day life that are honed, or skills that are improved by going to Aikido. And one that came to mind during that explanation was, quite often when, you know, you don't feel like going, you've had a big day and you're tired and you don't really feel like going, and I don't really want to go to the dojo, and quite often people that first start doing something like this will, and this will apply to lots of other things as well, but every time that comes, oh, I've got to go to the dojo tonight, and they'll sort of fight with themselves, you know, I don't really want to go, I should go, and then what'll happen is they'll either give in to their weak side and not go, and then they'll sit at home feeling bad because they didn't go and feeling guilty because they didn't go, or they fight with themselves, you know, and that becomes a regular thing then. Every time that they got to go to the dojo, they'll have these, or often when they go to the dojo, they have these fights with themselves. Whereas what happens is, if you have the attitude that when the practice is on, you go, and that's it, and then there's no debate, you know, within yourself. You just go, well, it's practice tonight, so I'm going. And it's as simple as that. No matter whether you feel tired or you get a headache or whatever other excuse you come up with, you just go. And because see, anything like that, and you find this with Aikido a lot, is then that applies through your life then. You get used to that way of thinking, that when there's something you've got to do, you just do it. You know, whether that be going to work, or whether that being some chore that you've got to take the rubbish out every Tuesday morning, or, you know, whatever it is that in your life that you've got to do that you're not really enthusiastic about doing, you just automatically do it. And this is where Aikido, when people that don't know anything about Aikido say it's not useful, often their meaning is it's not useful in a fight, or it's not useful in a UFC octagon or something, you know. But in actual fact, for day-to-day life, it's incredibly useful, you know, and that's just an example of it. So this is going to have to be a series of videos. There's a million things that come to mind with this. So for now, that's gonna be the end of it for now. There's going to have to be a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4. We'll do one part in the dojo just for some explanation. Will be easier in the dojo, but for now, that's it for now. More videos coming soon.